Okay. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Charlie Mcgee, joining my colleague Blair Nickel. I'm reporting today from Spokane, Washington. Blair's in Bend, Oregon, and we're delighted that you could join us for a short lunchtime chat about businesses to start. You know, we're in a post-COVID. We were just joking about that. If you just joined us, it's nice to see post-COVID rather than, you know, what do we do in the midst of it? So that part of it is exciting. We are, let's see if I can do this. Okay, Blair, there we go. So our agenda is pretty simple. We'll introduce ourselves and our services briefly. We'll talk about, we'll overview three concepts that Blair and I feel like are really on trend for this moment in terms of the economy and in terms of the job circumstances and context of post-COVID. And then, you know, what do you do next? If this is something that it seems interesting that you want to learn about, we make it easy to do that, and we'll show you how. At the end of the presentation, you're going to want to have your phone so that you can hover it over a QR code to get some important information from us. So stay tuned for that. If you and I haven't met, I'm Charlie Mcgee, the market president and franchisee for FranNet. I'm also the senior franchise consultant for IBA right here in Washington. I've been a franchise consultant for over 10 years. I've spent over 20 years in franchise operations and training. I've lived in the Puget Sound since '91. I've raised my family and really love, my favorite part of the business is working with clients as a matchmaker to help them explore and discover if business ownership is a good fit for them. And if it is, come up with some ideas that, you know, make sense. So that's me. I want to kick it over to my partner, Blair.
Thanks, Charlie. So my name is Blair. I've been in franchising for 25 plus years, been with FranNet 25 plus years, and have literally helped hundreds and hundreds of people go into business and franchise ownership in Southern California as well as the Pacific Northwest. I would say most of my clients here in the Pacific Northwest come from the Oregon, Idaho, or Alaska regions. I'm also the vice chairman of the board of the parent company of FranNet. Also own many other businesses, one of which is a franchise right here in Bend, Oregon, but I've owned many different franchises over the years. So it's kind of old hat for me. And it's always neat to watch people go from an educational webinar such as this to kind of having that dream of always wanting to own their own business or franchise that, you know, literally in a few months, you now own your own company. And it's really cool to see. So we hope you enjoy this webinar, and we'll get you the facts and information here shortly.
Thanks, Blair. Great to be with you. Can you imagine owning your own time? Now, I think that's one of the drivers of all the talk about resignation and people changing companies and having these career pivots, because they realize now in a way they haven't before, the scarcity of time, and the importance for having autonomy to choose what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, who you're going to do it with, how you're going to do it. And it's just something that is inherent that people crave. And I think it's driving really high interest in business ownership and entrepreneurism right now.
Can I chime in there real quick, Charlie?
Please.
I get clients that, and you know, this is more of a conversation than anything.
Yeah.
But I get, you know, my clients at least kind of bring this up quite a bit. You know, as I mentioned earlier, I live in Bend, Oregon, and I guess Bendites, we have a very good ability of screwing around. there's just so much to do here, whether it's golf or mountain climbing or skiing or fly fishing, it doesn't matter. And you know, kind of one of the neat things about owning your own business and kind of controlling your own time, which Charlie was getting to, is that, you know, business these days, you can kind of do it from anywhere at any time, as compared to having a job. You're on the clock, and you better be working. And so kind of having that freedom and flexibility is very, very nice. And I remember one of my clients a couple of years ago, he called me and he's like, "Hey, I hear some weird noise in the background. What's going on?" And I said, "Well, do you want me to tell you the truth?" And he goes, "Well, what?" And I said, "I'm on the top of Mount Bachelor skiing." And he goes, "You know what? That's what I want. I want that freedom and flexibility. How do I get that?" And I'm like, "You have to own your own business to do it." So just a little chime in there, Charlie.
I appreciate that. I do. And I share.
Yeah.
So, you know, this is always an important question for clients. And I ask them, you know, what is it that is prompting you to raise your hand and say, you know, this is something I might want to look at, or something I want to learn more about. On sort of a macro level, the employment landscape has been changing and shifting for quite a while now. Undoubtedly, you've heard about, you know, what's happening with inflation. You know, we're in a 40-year high. The Fed is raising interest rates to try to cool that off, and which is inevitably, I'm not an economist, but the economists that I look at and pay attention to indicate that there's going to be recessionary pressure. We hear a lot about the shortage of employees. So it almost seems like, God, how could they be doing layoffs when they can't find enough people to work? I don't think it's going to be the same as 2008, 2009. But there's going to be a definite turn as opposed to where we've been in recent years. And COVID and the pandemic has prompted over the last, well, since 2020, people to reimagine their careers and their life and what they want to get from it. And, you know, the rich resource of your time, because it's limited. So I think all of those things are driving a lot of interest right now in business ownership and in franchise ownership. I see it with IBA in terms of people, you know, looking at existing businesses, and we see it at FranNet. I see it particularly over the last about 4 months. Interest is way up, and having a lot more conversations with individuals. So I think these are contributing factors. If I'm trying to get this right here too, there we go. If you're new to this, if you're new to FranNet, we are advisors, we're guides. We're not selling franchises. We're helping people, you know, look at it in a thoughtful way. Business ownership is not for everybody. And sometimes that's a tough conversation to have, but, you know, we want you to be successful long-term, not just grab and go. You really should, you owe it to yourself to consider multiple options. So often I'll hear from somebody that, you know, they heard about a particular business and they, you know, just went head first right in for a deep dive on one concept, and didn't take the time to really think about their strengths, their experience, their goals, their budget, so that they could find something that was a really good fit. And that's what FranNet does. There's no cost to our service. We're paid like an executive recruiter. So really the investment is our time together. And this is what Blair and I have been doing and enjoying for so long. It's very rewarding. In terms of expectations for today, really, we want you to get a deeper understanding of of a couple of concepts, but really just the process in general. It's unlikely that one of these is the one for you, but it may raise your interest, and we'd be delighted to have a conversation with you about your own personal situation and circumstances, and sort of start from there. So that's what we hope for you to get. Okay, so here's the as advertised, 3 concepts to think about as good options in a post-COVID environment. And we'll start with Patchmaster. This is a B2B and a B2C business that FranNet just, the agreements were actually signed yesterday. So this is a brand new concept for us. I've been very excited about it coming into inventory. I know some of the principals with Patchmaster, and I've heard the stories about how well they are doing. This is a business with a niche market. What they do is it's a drywall repair service, not a drywall installation company. So very low competition. They make holes disappear. They get business from a diversified source of referrals. And there's 3 different ways to be successful in this business. It could be, small ball with 1 territory as an owner operator. It could be with more than 1 territory as an executive, building a team and leading from sort of like a CEO. And then there's a more semi-absentee option as an investor. And the franchise has successful franchisees that can validate their experience in all 3 business models. So I want to say something for everyone, but there's some options there. The clients you see listed on the left. I like businesses that don't rely on one source of new customers, either from a marketing perspective or those that you serve. The more diversity there is to it, I think the better. And that's certainly true with Patchmaster. This gives you a little picture of territory. An owner operator may opt for a single territory, where someone that's trying to scale a business to greater heights would look at crafting a territory that is large enough to help them reach their financial goals. Blair and I do not get into specific discussion about earning claims, financial performance representations. That's something that the franchisor is going to do, and be able to support that with, they're the ones that have audited their books and do that. But, there are some attractive, really attractive features to this business. From an investment perspective, 82 to 105,000 for a single territory award. And we can get into more of the specifics of what makes up that investment, if we follow up and talk about it. But summarizing, this is a low investment. You don't have a lease. It's plug and play marketing. You don't have many receivables, if any. There's a national call center to handle inbound calls. They've got proprietary tools, an enormously experienced franchise team to support you, to train you from the beginning. They're not looking for people with drywall experience. This business ramps quickly. You have a protected territory, and really superior financial guidance in terms of how to strategically scale your business. So I'm very excited about Patchmaster. I think the territories are going to sell quickly. The second concept Blair's going to cover, and there you go.
You got it. Thanks, Charlie. And what I'll also add to that is, look, in all honesty, and a lot of these concepts, they're concepts where, trust me, you probably didn't wake up this morning and said, "My God, if my day goes right, I hope to own a drywall repair business." So what I want you to understand is people don't purchase these businesses for what the business does. They purchase these businesses for where the business gets them. And does it fit what it is that they're looking for in their skill sets? Because trust me, if you're the one out there patching drywall, you're probably going to go out of business. That's not what that business is all about. Same thing with like hair care businesses or you name it. So look at these businesses as a vehicle to get you to what you're trying to achieve. Now, having said that, I do get a lot of clients who come to me and say, "Blair, I've always wanted to be a consultant." Well, the problem with being a consultant is you have to hang your own shingle. You got to come up with your trade name. You got to figure out what are you going to consult at. You got to figure out what you're going to charge for your rates, who you're going to consult to. And so for our clients to say, "Look, I've always thought about becoming a consultant, or I really enjoy coaching others or coaching businesses, and I want to be in kind of a low cost B2B home or office based type of situation," definitely look at Focal Point. Focal Point is a very large international franchisor. They have hundreds of franchisees around the world. I've had many, many clients go with Focal Point from both an area developer level, which they don't really do anymore, but mainly from an independent consultant or coach type of level. So what Focal Point does is they coach small to medium sized business owners to help them progress their business. Because look, being in business, there's a lot of business owners right now are just trying to figure things out, whether it's employment or their goals or their strategic plans or their margins. Doesn't matter. They need help. And that's what Focal Point does. It was started by a gentleman who you may have heard with. He's probably the most preeminent business coach in the world of all time. His name is Brian Tracy. Brian Tracy started Focal Point, I would say, 15 to 20 years ago, and they've been great to work with. So like I said, it's a low cost home-based or office-based type of investment. As you can see there, typical investments around 70,000 or so according to the franchisor. Very high margins. You control your own time. Not a lot of expenses or overhead. So if you ever thought about wanting to own your own consulting practice or really kind of put a consulting practice on steroids, that's what Focal Point is all about.
Good call. Yeah, they're also based in the Pacific Northwest, in Vancouver, BC. So,
and you can market anywhere. So your clients can come from anywhere on planet Earth. Really.
Great. Third option. I'm really excited about this concept. This is also a newer concept called pet evolution. It's in the pet wellness category. I think, pet ownership increased significantly during COVID. There's really see it in Washington and in the Puget Sound area, but sort of a new normal when it comes to how people think about their pets. They really think of them as family members, and there's no end to what they want to do to help take care of them. And Pet Evolution's mission is helping family pets live the good life. Think of Whole Foods for pets, and that starts to kind of tell you what they're all about. This is a well-tested, well-validated concept. It's a new one. It's a micro-emerging business, but is standing on really a strong foundation. Multiple revenue streams. Let me try to advance this. There we go. I love seeing multiple revenue streams in a business, and when there is a recurring revenue stream, which you get with when you have a membership element to the business, that's particularly attractive. Their core business, though, are nutritional products and I won't go into the details, but it's impressive. For dogs and cats, state-of-the-art dog washing stations, full service grooming. And Blair, I don't know about Bend, but in the Puget Sound area especially, try to get a dog grooming appointment and it is weeks out before you can have that done.
It's the same thing here. I believe in Bend, we have the highest number of dogs per capita in the United States. Yeah, it's insane.
When I've been there visiting you, I'm not surprised to hear it, because they're everywhere. And I think we see the same thing in Seattle and Bellevue and all over. People bringing their dogs everywhere. Pet Evolution also has a mobile nail trim service. So there's some real differentiators to this business. Ownership is up. People are more concerned about the products that they're giving their pets, and the founders and the leaders at Pet Evolution are really seizing on this, using their decades of experience in franchising to create a really compelling business model. This has a regional developer license, which has already been awarded in Washington. That regional developer license is still available in Oregon and in Idaho and Alaska.
One of your clients purchased that, correct, Charlie?
You sure did.
Yeah.
And I get particularly excited when a franchise concept has a regional development model, and that regional developer is someone of the caliber of the gentleman that was awarded that license in Washington. It's a huge boost and additional level of support for franchisees. Just to explain, when you, as a regional developer, you have your own unit, your own location or territory, depending on the business. In this case, it would be a unit. And then you have a role in helping grow the brand within a given territory. So you're involved with and talking to candidates who are looking at Pet Evolution as a potential fit. And then you are also sharing with the franchisor some financial benefits and revenue stream that comes from franchise fees and from royalties. So when someone is awarded a regional development license early with a young brand that has lots of room to grow, it can be a really exciting prospect. And so I think that's the case. So I know that's the case here. So those are our three kind of hot to watch in the post-COVID world concepts. There are others, but we wanted to focus on these. And I throw this out too as a teaser. Just today at 11 o'clock this morning, we had, and I wasn't able to catch it, but I'll watch the recording later, for a new mental health franchise that's coming into inventory. And, no kidding aside, I think rightly so, mental health is something that's getting finally some attention and focus, and people are recognizing that their mental health is crucial to their lives, and they can't just kind of put their head down and carry on. So this is something I think that's going to just have a ton of buzz about it, and we're excited to watch that launch call. Check in with us if you want to learn more about that.
Yeah, I are both learning about that one, so it is fresh, hot off the press.
Exactly. So Blair, tell us kind of what happens next.
Sure. So Again, it's not that one of these three concepts, or I guess three and a half, are the what the ones that are right for you. Charlie and I work with hundreds of different concepts. We just kind of wanted to give you a teaser, a taste of what we're seeing from our clients, kind of launching into the next few years here in a kind of post-COVID environment. So, if you're kind of sitting back saying, "Hey, you know what? This has always kind of been a dream or a goal of mine. And I think I'm interested in wanting to own my own business. And hey, I think franchising might be the best methodology to do that." Well, let me just kind of go through kind of next steps here in the kind of 2 minutes, couple minutes that we have left here. So we have each of our clients fill out an assessment, which helps us learn about you, your goals, what it is you're trying to achieve, your behaviors, some nuances that you think you'd like to see in the business. So we have an entrepreneur profile, which will produce about 11-page report for both you and I. It takes about 20 minutes to do. You'll see a QR code come up here in another minute or so where you can have access to that assessment, and we'll get you the link to it, as well as a copy of this presentation, as well as some other helpful information. But it's always a very interesting report for people. And so what we're going to use that report for is we're going to try to figure out, hey, which path is best for you? And every single one of us on this webinar have different wants, different needs, different goals. And so therefore, we probably all would look at different franchises. And like I said, Charlie and I work with hundreds of different franchises. The question is, which of that sea of franchises is the right one for you? And we're going to be kind of your helpful guide and coach to help match you up with the right franchise based on who you are, and then walk you through our research process, our proven research process, to help you make a safe and wise decision. So Charlie and I have been using a 4-step research plan for years and years and years. This was developed about 30 years ago, and all of our FranNet offices across North America use the same proven research process. And so we're going to once we help match you up with the franchisors, we're going to help coach you and set you up for talking to those franchisors. So we fully acknowledge that you've probably never done this before. And so you're kind of wondering, hey, what questions do I ask? What is the proper process moving forward? So we're going to help coach and prepare you for that. Step 2 is the most important part of the whole research process, and that's talking to the individual franchisees that are within the particular concepts that you're researching. You got to remember that the franchisors that you're talking to, they're probably going to share with you everything you want to hear. The franchisees are going to share with you everything that you need to hear, because the franchisees are the ones that actually pulled the trigger, are in that particular business. They'll tell you whether they do it again, how they do it differently, how much money you can make, how good is the franchisor, how's the training and support, everything that you want to hear. So you're going to talk to a bunch of franchisees. And again, we'll arm you with all the questions and processes within that step to get that done. If you get through step 2 and you're saying, you know what? We found a business that we're pretty interested in here. We've gotten the vast majority of our research and due diligence done. Now, we're talking a couple months into the process here. So if you're about 80 or 90% sure we may have landed on the right business for you after all your research, then you're going to want to meet with the franchisor. This is now finally requiring some travel now. Some of these are done virtually, but it's kind of a meet the team day. And it's where you meet with the top brass of the company. You go visit their corporate headquarters, most likely. You're going to spend a couple days with them, kind of dotting your I's, crossing your T's, and kind of your goal is to walk away saying, hey, do I think this is the one? And if so, then you move on to step 4. And that's where you really dot your I's and cross your T's. It's where Charlie and I will get you in contact if you need a franchise attorney, if you need a CPA that specializes in franchising, any funding, banks, anything like that, to help you kind of tie this in a nice little ribbon. And then we're all set. To get, like I said, to get through step 1 through step 4, it takes us as long as it needs to take, but generally we're seeing it take about 2 to 3 months. So this is how you get that information. So here's the QR codes. So have your phone handy and just put on your camera, shine it on the QR code. Again, if you're in Oregon or Idaho or Alaska on this webinar, click on my QR code, which is Blair Nickel. If you're in the state of Washington, you'll want to work with Charlie because Charlie's the expert for the state of Washington. So you'll want to use his QR code. for whatever reason you mess it up, we'll get it all straightened away for you. We'll get you to the right person. But there's our contact information. There's our QR code. That's how you can get a copy of today's presentation, get a link to that assessment, and then also the ability to get on Charlie's and I's calendars to schedule a call or a meeting, or just want to ask more questions after this webinar. So that's the guts of this presentation. Charlie, any kind of last?
No, I think you're right, though. It's just, you know, what I'm most interested in is a conversation, and you may not be. In fact, maybe most people, they're not like, okay, I'm ready to buy a business. I'm ready to invest in a franchise. This is a journey. It's a process, one step at a time. And, you know, please take advantage of our experience in the business and our interest in helping you make, you know, the right decisions for you. So thanks for joining us today. It was fun. Blair, great to see you. And
yeah, absolutely.
We'll have some more exciting events coming up later in the year.
You got it. Thanks, Charlie. Thanks everybody for attending. Appreciate it.